Anesthetics, an agent that reduces sensation affecting either the whole body or a particular area. For example, xylosane. Acids, a drug that neutralizes the HCl acid secreted in digestive juices of stomach. For example, aluminium hydroxide. Analgesic equals a drug that relieves pain. For example, diclofenac sodium. Probiotics, a substance that destroys or inhibits the growth of bacteria and other microorganisms. For example, penicillin, tetracycline. Anticoagulants, the drug that prevents the clotting of blood. For example, heparin. Anticonvulsant, a drug that prevents or reduces seizures. For example, carbamazepine, sodium valproate. Antidotes, a drug that counteracts the effects of a poison or overdose by another drug. For example, dimercarb. Antiemetics, an agent that prevents vomiting. For example, domperidone. Antifungal, a drug that inhibits the growth or destroy fungal organisms. For example, fluconazole. Antihistamines, a drug which is used for allergic reactions. For example, chlorphenamine. Anti-inflammatory, the drugs which suppress inflammation. For example, betamethasone. Antipyretic, the drugs which reduce fever. For example, paracetamol. Dilators, these drugs widen airways and lungs. For example, theophylline, salbutamol. Diuretics, a drug that increase the volume and frequency of urine. For example, furosemide. Emetics, an agent that induces vomiting. For example, apomorphine, ipecacuanha. Emollient, an agent that soothes and softens the skin. For example, liquid paraffin. Antitussive, a medical preparation for suppressing coughs. For example, codeine. Galactogogue, an agent that induces secretion of milk. Mycotic, a drug that constricts the pupil of eye. For example, opioids, cholinergic. Mydriatics, a drug that dilate the pupil of eye. For example, atropine. Narcotic, a drug that induces stupor and relieves pain. For example, morphine. Oxytocin, a drug that stimulates uterine contraction. For example, oxytocin. Vasodilators, a drug that causes widening of the blood vessels and increased blood flow. For example, glyceryl trinitrate. Antispasmodic, a drug which relieves the spasm of involuntary smooth muscles. For example, Buscopan, ribavirin. A drug used to stimulate or increase the frequency of bowel evacuation. For example, bisacodyl, magnesium salts.